after Prime Minister Modi and Kuwait's Amir Sheikh held their first bilateral meeting on Sunday. The two countries elevated their relationship to a strategic partnership and signaled that trade and defense cooperation would form the key pillar of their ties. This came in on the day that Kuwait conferred its highest order to Prime Minister Modi for his role in strengthening the relations between the two countries. Modi's visit is the first by an Indian PM in 43 years to Kuwait. The last Indian Prime Minister to visit Kuwait was Indira Gandhi in 1981. Prime Minister Modi was accompanied by External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. At their delegation-level talks, the two Prime Ministers discussed a roadmap to strengthen the strategic partnership in diverse areas, including trade, investment, energy, defense, security, health, education, technology, as well as people-to-people ties. And we now ask the key questions that what really will be the next phase in terms of the Gulf diplomacy. But before that, listen in to what Prime Minister Modi had to say on this very important visit.
साथियों, भारत और कुवैत का रिश्ता सभ्यताओं का है, सागर का है, स्नेह का है, व्यापार कारोबार का है। भारत और कुवैत अरब सागर के दो किनारों पर बसे हैं। हमें सिर्फ डिप्लोमेसी ने ही नहीं बल्कि दिलों ने आपस में जोड़ा है। हमारा वर्तमान ही नहीं बल्कि हमारा अतीत भी हमें जोड़ता है।
All right, let's now get in some important voices to decode the significance of this visit and, more importantly, put this in the context of the Gulf diplomacy that has really taken a major step up under Prime Minister Modi's tenure in the last 10 years. We have with us Adeeb Shuhaibar, who is the senior journalist joining us from Kuwait, and Reaven de Souza, the Times Kuwait managing editor as well. All right, we have with us Mr. de Souza right now to talk more about the visit, its significance, and what really could be the next phase in terms of this roadmap going forward for Gulf diplomacy. Mr. de Souza, thanks much for speaking to NDTV. Let me start by asking you your thoughts in terms of the significance of this visit, the takeaways of it, where there was a lot of focus on defense, on hydrocarbons, on business and greater economic partnership between the two countries.
Good evening. Thank you so much. The visit of Prime Minister Modi was a visit that set the tone for a great partnership, a partnership that will have very long-term substantial benefits. This visit has also turned a lot of talk in the past into action. Prime Minister Modi, in a nutshell, won the hearts and the minds of the leadership of Kuwait. An example was a 30-minute meeting with Amir turned into a 1.5-hour meeting where a range of issues encompassing bilateral relations were discussed that went beyond just business ties, but it was about the historical relations and the friendship that India and Kuwait have been having for so long time. Yet there was a slight disconnect between the leadership in their meetings. So I think this broke the ice. It now has set the ball rolling. As you mentioned, defense, cybersecurity, these are just some of the things. But Kuwait is now at the probably the end of the Arabian Gulf visit, as well as his last visit to the Arabian Gulf, Kuwait. This opens up a whole new avenue of business opportunities for Indian businessmen as well as Kuwaitis to invest in India. An example is that for a long time the Chinese companies and China has had a larger footprint. And I think this visit now,
Yes.
because traditionally, India has been a big partner of Kuwait, and this will open
Let me come to
new
the
vistas.
business aspect of it in a bit, Mr. D'Souza. Let me get in Adeeb as well in terms of the significance of this visit, why it is so important for Kuwait as well. Because at the end of the day, India is a major growth engine, and it makes sense for Gulf countries, for Kuwait as well, to partner and engage more deeply with Kuwait, doesn't it? With India.
It does, absolutely. I mean, the thing is with India, and as I was talking to the editor when he spoke on the phone with me yesterday, I mean, the links between Kuwait and India are historic. It's something that goes back decades, from the time of the rupee being here to having, the Indian food, the Indian culture from the early days of Kuwait's discovery of oil and before. So it's always been a big player, basically, in the region, India, in a different way. But I think now, we're going into a strategic level where Kuwait has signed this strategic partnership, which is a defense partnership. The Gulf region, of course, is an economic powerhouse, predominantly perhaps for oil, other than Dubai, which is more mixed. So, I mean, you're looking on a different level, the partnership, it's cultural, but I think it's also going into the big league now. And it's time for that, to be honest. It's great to see India going even further out into the world. It's one of the leading economies of the world now. So yes, definitely, there is a change in the game, and the strategic partnership, definitely. And I think looking at the vision of 2035 Kuwait, which is the solar alliance as well, getting Kuwait into more green energy. I think India will be able to help a lot with that, because like the airports in India are all covered with solar panels. India has a lot of experience with that side of.
In fact, that's an area I wanted to talk about in detail in terms of the significance of Kuwait being part of the International Solar Alliance, the role that India can play in terms of the solar energy and the solar energy roadmap for Kuwait, and maybe for the entire GCC as well. Mr. Adeeb.
I think that's a very good idea. I always feel we should do much more with solar, because basically our climates are very similar in a lot more, not all the parts of India, not when you go up further north, of course, but generally we do have a lot of sun. As you do, so do we. So I think it makes so much sense. Solar panels are very easy, known technology. It's nothing brand new. And it's something that can be adapted fairly quickly and easily, to start with, to deal with these greenhouse effects we're talking about and climate change. It is one good way we can start. Yes, I hope that moves forward as well.
And Mr. D'Souza, then let me ask you this in terms of the opportunities that you think could probably stand out from a business point of view.
Kuwait is on the threshold of big mega projects to be announced in the coming years as part of their 2035 vision. I think Indian companies can do well. Prime Minister mentioned green energy. He also mentioned the infrastructure development. And I think the potential is limitless. And it really is, let's say, at the decision of the top leadership, who have been very acceptable to this idea of bringing more Indians and more Indian companies. Anyway, we are the closest to Kuwait. If you see geographically from the west to the east, India is the closest. They are our extended neighborhood.
Yes.
So it makes complete sense for them to do business
Absolutely.
and trade and everything else.
There are strategic interests, there are geographical opportunities and advantages. And before we wrap this up, Mr. Adeeb, let me ask you then about the defense partnership. That's likely to be the other cornerstone of this relationship, isn't it?
It is. That is something very new. It's good. It is nice to see that you have a strategic partnership, which we have a lot with Western state nations as well. But having India in this is definitely something different, something new. And I'd love to see how that pans out. India has a lot of defense technology as well to export, and people can learn from. So yeah, there has been a lot of different things in this visit. I remember I was talking to friends the other day about the last visit, which was, I think, by Indira Gandhi, which was back in the 70s or 80s, was a long time ago. The last prime minister's visit. Of course, there have been many high-level visits since, but not to the prime minister's level. So yeah, it is historic in that way. It's been good. It's good to see India in the region.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking to me on NDTV's India Global, where we talked about Gulf diplomacy of India. And hopefully next year in 2025, we will only further strengthen on this momentum. Thanks much.